Yeah, hi, YouTube. How you doing? UK news coming up right here. We're going to do some UK news. Wanted to cover the conservative march towards authoritarianism that, it's a trend we're seeing in Canada, of course, in the United States, but we're also seeing it in the UK. And it seems to be kind of new to the UK BBC presenters and, LBC as well, where shameless shilling for things that don't actually reflect the real world. It's kind of a new thing to them, to have a conservative like Boris Johnson, who clearly is in the wrong, clearly doesn't know what he's doing. Have characters like Liz Truss, who are clearly, wrong, and the mini budget clearly being terrible for the UK. And then the conservatives come around and say, oh, it was actually a good thing. And it was actually something we actually still support it. And we, and don't believe your lying eyes. And, we may have stepped down, but it wasn't for the reason that you think. And, just a bunch of, gaslighting and whataboutism and, and all that. Oh, well, what about this and what about that when you point out the failures of their ability to govern. So I guess it's kind of new to the UK. And, of course, what we're starting to see is a crackdown on media and all the other tenets of a classic right-wing government that is failing to actually achieve anything for its people. So they resort to these heavy-handed authoritarian tactics. And then the other big story we're going to be covering is the inflation crisis that's hitting the UK. Energy prices through the roof, of course, because of Ukraine, but not just because of Ukraine. And, the big question is, how does a country that has imposed its economic sanctions on itself, how does that country deal with this new economic reality that they all wanted? This is even though less than 50% of the population voted in the referendum for Brexit, but no, this is what everybody wanted, guys. This is what everyone wanted, and it was sold to everybody. It was supposed to make everybody's lives better. Taxes go down, wages go up, all the bad things go away. All the good things come into the UK, right? That's how Brexit was sold. All the bad things gone, all the good things are better. And that's not what we're seeing. So we're going to get an update on that as well. So let's go ahead and get started with our first story here from Politics Joe, a pretty cool news channel that I discovered. They got a clip here called Explained, the Conservative Party's March to Authoritarianism. So this is kind of a catch-up for anybody that's not sure what the hell's going on in the UK. It's fascism. Hey, it's fascism. Welcome to the fash. Get ready to bash.
Arrested by Hertfordshire police, rightly
As
called
in
out.
party, of course.
National police chiefs have said that journalists should be able to do their jobs without being arrested, without being harassed.
Just like Judge Dredd.
Photographer Tom Bowles, filmmaker Rich Felgate, and LBC reporter Charlotte Lynch were all arrested as they covered Just Stop Oil protests on the M25.
And it's a real way of sort of shutting down the publicity that these protests get, and also fishing.
Now, because I'm sure some people in the comments are going to make some fucking comment about the protests and the stopping of traffic. I do think that if you're going to be stopping traffic, you should open one lane and allow at least one lane of cars to go through. And I think you really shouldn't be blocking general traffic. You should be specifically blocking the traffic of politicians and oligarchs and things like that. Like, you should, instead of blocking traffic on a freeway, which gets the news, maybe you should block a very popular opera house that all the oligarchies they all go to, or maybe the financial district, right? And just the financial district, right? Really try to target the specific people. Like, I do think there is a salient argument to be made for political activists against inconveniencing the masses of people that you need to convince on your side. I do think it's a double-edged sword, right? Because we wouldn't be talking about Just Stop Oil if they weren't a nuisance, okay? But, how much of that nuisance is weighed out by, how much inconvenience? It's a game. It's a game. Block the doors to the buildings, like block Trump Tower. Yeah, I think I agree with that more than, and I think you would get in the news. I think if you were blocking doors and really preventing, I don't think it would be completely blocked out from the news. At least try it, okay? Look, if things get desperate enough and we got to start shutting down the freeways, okay, but let's, instead of going, like, it's like the first thing they try, right, is like shutting down the freeway. Instead of doing that, let's try some of these other things. To be fair, though, I have been part of the activist movement in San Francisco, and I have been part of protests that specifically target Pelosi's house, that specifically target specific areas of the city, and you won't hear a peep from the news, right? But the moment you block the freeway, oh no, did you hear? You get your message out there, you get your name out there. It works. Okay? So, Davey and me, who's making this argument against blocking traffic, we need to come to terms with the fact that if a protest movement tries those things, tries to block specific doors, tries to go after the oligarchy directly, tries to go after the financial district, tries to inconvenience them specifically, and fails, then we have to accept that if blocking the freeway is the only way to get our message out there, the progressive left's message out there, then we're going to have to keep doing it. All right. I'm not convinced, though, and I think you're not convinced either, that it's necessary to inconvenience the masses in this way to get our message out there. Okay. I'd be curious in other tactics that are a little bit, different, I guess. But with that said, we're talking about Just Stop Oil. And one of the reasons why we're talking about Just Stop Oil is because they blocked that fucking freeway. All right. That's just a fact. So we have to balance that out when we're talking about this strategy. Find their cars, take off their tires. No, that's destructive. That's counterproductive. That's counterproductive. Right? Because these people are being stopped in traffic, but their car is not being destroyed. Right? Eventually they get cleared away, then they get to go about their business. You destroy their tires, that fucks up their whole day. So see, it's a fine line. It's an interesting game you have to play because you need mass appeal, but you also need attention from the masses, and the mainstream doesn't give you attention unless you do something that, a lot of people are going to disagree with, because that's what gets clicks and interest into the story. So it's a fucking game you have to play. Don't destroy the jacket up, remove the tires. That's going to get a lot of people arrested. I don't think you're going to get a lot of people down for that shit.
For information about what information they can get from journalistic sources that obviously should be protected. But it points to a much wider problem.
When challenged, Hertfordshire Police seemed less than contrite.
I think we've just got to ask ourselves as a society if we are handling the Just Stop Oil appropriately by giving them the oxygen of publicity.
Press, film crews, and journalists should be able to cover protests without fear of being harassed, having their footage seized, or being arrested. But we think this can't be divorced from the wider context where the government is clamping down on protest rights.
Hey, Lenny, the person who hit Pelosi's husband in the head with a hammer wasn't a right-winger, wasn't a psychopath, okay? It's probably a left-winger, probably Antifa. Didn't you hear? Oh, I heard the guy that hit Pelosi's husband in the hammer was Antifa. Oh, I heard that too. Yep, that's a fact. Pelosi's husband was hit in the head with a hammer by Antifa. Yep, that's a fact now. That's there you go. Done. Hand washed away. Factoid, reality morphed. And and wouldn't that be great to live in that world, man? Just all the shit that, is like, oh man, my fucking stove broke. Fucking Mexicans, you know what I mean? Like, it's just you got these like boogeymen that, like, all the problems of the world you can just focus in on. It's like, it must be so nice. Made the difference in the 60s and 70s during the Vietnam War. That and the free press that was able to actually show the images from Vietnam of what was happening. That was a big game changer as well. But yeah, Lenny, the public pressure was a big part of why it had to be wrapped up. And as we see with Iraq and Afghanistan, if there's no media covering it, if there's no public pressure, these quagmires just will go on and on and on and on and on indefinitely. Imagine if we were in Vietnam for 20 plus years like we were in Afghanistan, right? That's why they don't that's why the media stops talking about the dead bodies coming home. That's why they stop, it's not part of the zeitgeist. It's not talked about. It's forgotten. When everyone was surprised we were still in Afghanistan when Joe Biden announced that we were getting out of Afghanistan. Remember that? Who was he? I genuinely don't know. Was he MAGA? Who are you talking about? The guy who went after Pelosi's husband, yeah, he was a, Q freak. He was a fucking right winger. Yep. Yep. Yeah. I'd show me evidence to the contrary, but I'm almost certain that's what I read.
And freedom of expression.
Just Stop Oil's recent
where are the
protests are being
students?
policed under a government that really doesn't want you to protest. One bill with an authoritarian
They're making
slant
protest illegal.
doesn't mean the whole government is authoritarian, but passing several within a few years and making anti-democratic measures a key pillar of government policy, that sets off a few alarm bells. Prorogation. Making it impossible for refugees to come to the UK legally. Now when the government announces plans to strip away several human rights, it's not a cause for alarm. It's endorsed in election-winning manifestos. The Conservative Party has always had an authoritarian bend, but they weren't the dominant faction. The old grey men calling to bring back hanging were balanced out by the socially liberal finance bros. But now, the party has lurched rightwards, and the old grey men are calling the shots. The Black Lives Matter protests, Sarah Everard's memorial service, Extinction Rebellion and Just Stop Oil.
Yes, Davey,
All
I'll
these
be
movements
covering
aim
that.
to draw attention to the government's failure in various ways. Instead of reckoning with these causes and what they said, the government decided to make it much harder to criticise them. The Police Crime and Sentencing Bill passed in April severely limits protest rights, and it specifically names these causes.
Madam Deputy Speaker, instead
Yes, I will be covering Rishi Sunak in the Ukraine today.
of tackling violence against women, the government has prioritised giving the police the power to prohibit the fundamental freedoms of protest that the British public hold dear. And by giving the police this discretion to use these powers some of the time, it takes away our freedom all of the time. The government's bill targets protesters causing too much noise and says that those who cause annoyance could be jailed for up to 10 years. Madam Deputy Speaker, I'm thankful that the draconian limits on the power to protest were not in place during the great protests of the 20th century that led to real change.
And it hasn't stopped there. Right now, the government is trying to go further and pass the Public Order Bill, which is basically all the measures that were too nuts from the Policing Bill rolled into one.
The Public Order Bill that's currently going through Parliament.
Man, I remember after Occupy Wall Street, they were flirting around with free speech zones in America. They were flirting around with that idea. You're only allowed to protest in specific areas well away from whatever event that's happening. Don't they do that for the WTO conference?
Which is extremely worrying. It provides a non-suspicionless stop and search power for people going equipped to lock on. And perhaps most concerning of all is the serious disruption prevention orders that the government's trying to introduce for people who protest too much. And you don't even need to have committed an offence to get an order. And the orders contain things like, you can be tagged electronically, you can have to report to a police station, and also contain clauses like not using the internet for political organising. So it's a real way to try and target political organisers, which is a real threat to having a functioning democracy, because there's a real chilling effect of people being scared to put their heads above the parapet, of being scared to organise protests, because they're worried about the consequences.
Yeah, it's about intimidation. It's about preventing future protests. It's obvious what it's about. And yeah, equal Dari, exactly. I mean, don't be surprised. And if we see a right-wing government, they will be passing preemptive laws against protests, and they'll be using Black Lives Matter. They'll just say, the riots from Black Lives Matter. They're already doing it. They've already successfully vilified the idea of active political protesting. They've in the right wing and a lot of left wingers. I'm shocked at the amount of left wingers I talk to who will describe the BLM protests as riots. Like, oh, remember all the rioting that happened? The riots from last year? I remember a lot of protests. And I remember some of them getting out of hand. I remember a couple fast food joints getting burned down, a couple Apple stores getting broken into. I also remember an incredible crime committed by the police department against the black community yet again. what was my opinion on Chaz over in Seattle? I honestly, Davey, I have no idea what the hell you're talking about. Nothing comes to mind when you say that. It's interesting.
And the impact of that is massive and very, very worrying.
One of its biggest critics is an unlikely one, a Tory MP.
Because this is what we do now in politics. We sort of have these machismo laws where something must be done. So we go out and do it. And that makes a good headline in the Telegraph and Times, but we do it and then very little happens. Or if it does happen, it is way over the top. I give way.
No, I didn't remember that, and I wouldn't support that. I think, you know, and are you bringing that up because I brought up BLM protesters? You know, I guess some of them are like totally anti-police, and some of them are legitimate Antifa, you know, against all police legitimately. But a grand majority of the BLM protesters were just regular people who were sick and tired of police brutality. I don't know what happened in an autonomous zone, no police allowed. Man, tell me there's a Vice documentary on that.
The idea that in this country we are going to ankle tag someone who has not been convicted in a court of law. I mean, I tell you what, those Chinese in their embassy will be watching this very closely at the moment. They might actually be applying for some of this stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
The language used to describe protesters is increasingly antagonistic too.
Have you seen something about the Just Stop Oil protesters and the people getting up on the gantries on the M25? Have you noticed who they are? The latest one is called Indigo. Generally, they're called Jocasta or Sebastian. They're nearly all upper middle class spoiled brats.
Yeah, so this is a pretty common tactic as well, that they're just trust fund kids, that there isn't, that they're, you know, that none of what they say is legitimate, which is interesting because, I mean, Nigel fucking Farage is as literally as trust fund as it gets, as literally as privileged as it gets. So by his own standards, should we completely disregard the fucking bile that comes out of your mouth because you're just a trust fund idiot? So it's just brazen, cynical politics, hypocritical to the core. It doesn't matter. He's spoon feeding this to his little birdies that are like, yep, protest bad, yeah, anti-British. See the same shit here in the United States, same shit in Canada too, quite frankly.
Who clearly have got nothing better to do in their lives, don't
But less of it in
understand
Canada.
fundamental economics, couldn't give a damn about people going about their business. After all, none of these kids will probably ever have to work. And hey, if you miss your parents' funeral, it isn't really their fault. But of course, there's been a narrative from Prince Charles.
We will cover that after the UK news is completed. The autonomous zone in Seattle, the police-free area. Oh boy. So the anarchists actually got what they wanted. Okay, this has to be good.
David Attenborough, right through the educational system and most of our political class, that we're all about to die. Remember, China have produced more CO2 since 2013.
Nice whataboutism. So because China is polluting more, that means we can just pollute all we want? What the fuck is that? What kind of juvenile whataboutism is that?
Than we have since 1750. I don't see them paying any reparations.
Okay, yeah. I mean, I don't know about reparations. I don't know what that would help, because what we need to do is take that money and put it into transforming our polluting industries and corporations into sustainable ones. From 2 years ago, it was violently ended when police raided the area after about 3 weeks after the zone was created. Okay, so it wasn't an official thing. It was just something that they created. So it's basically just fodder for the right wing to vilify protesting. You know, yeah. I maybe I won't show it. I'm really not interested in showing that. It's stupidity. It's stupid. You know, young people being stupid, and that doesn't reflect the progressive movement as a whole. You know, not even close. So many people are psychopaths. Really need to stop emissions. Yeah, and we can. It's within our grasp. Literally, the John Axel. Literally, the only thing. It's good. I was just curious. Yeah. No, I know you're not a bad faith actor. I'm just saying, you know how that stuff is, you know, weaponized and used against the right. But we'll take a look. You know, I'm free and open to all information. I'm happy to tell an anarchist that he's full of fucking shit. I'm happy to tell a fucking libertarian that they're completely up their own ass and they have no fucking idea what the fuck they're talking about, because they have no idea and they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. Okay? Anarchists are stupid as fuck. No hierarchies, no laws. Oh, right. Okay. So basically, to the winner go to the fucking, strongest go the spoils, man. They think, because they're okay with that, because every anarchist thinks that they're going to be on top of the heap. Just like a libertarian. Every libertarian thinks that they're going to be on top of the heap. They never picture themselves as the fucking, oh, there's no hierarchies, right? Oh, yeah, if you can't defend yourself, you get your shit raided. You get your shit you're lucky if you leave with your life. Right? You get your wife stolen from you in an anarchist system. Right? No laws. Get the fuck out of here, you maniacs. So I have no problem telling anarchists and fucking libertarians that they need to, pound sand. When I say it's good, I mean don't worry about it. No problem. I'm pissed. Misunderstandings of anarchisms are delightfully hilarious. Delightfully, yeah, and that's what anarchists always say, that, oh, you misunderstand. There would be a hierarchy. There would be police where needed, where it's all needed. Oh, okay, yeah, okay, sure. It doesn't mean the existence of no laws. It just means only just laws. Yeah. So who figures that out? A small group of people, right? No. You seem a bit cranky today. Cranky is good. Maybe I am cranky. Capitalism bad because 1% ruling. In other news, we want to get rid of the laws that protects the rest.
Just Stop Oil protesters are being demonized as trust fund hippies stopping hard-working people getting to work, as a way to distract from their point that the planet is dying and we need to do something about it.
I think they're worried about the impact of protest. I think they would rather not address the climate emergency, but address the people trying to raise the alarm about it. And as ever, with so many of these police powers, we see that sort of alignment with state and corporate interests. So the interests of big oil and gas.
Good luck, anarchists. Good luck. You currently have more feet to stand on than the communists right now.
Gas are in stopping these protests. And we've seen it with injunctions as well, then number of injunctions taken out.
But good luck convincing people about the no police thing. How many, good luck convincing people that we need to get rid of democracy and replace it with an anarchist system of, I guess there could still technically be voting in a massive anarchist, national anarchist system. There would have to be voting, right? But it would only be voting on a very few things. Would we even need to vote once a year? Would that even be necessary, since it'd be such a small amount of things to be voting on, right? What would it be, like 2 things? Like, is murder legal? Yes or no? Is pedophilia legal? Yes or no? Then everything else is legal. Is that what an anarchist election would look like?
Recently to try and curtail protests. So
no, I guess they'd have to accept some form of democracy to have some form of national double down. Yeah, okay. No, well, I've done lots of communist streams, explaining communism and different forms of socialism and that. I haven't done a lot of anarchist streams, and and I have been wanting to cover Noam Chomsky and all the other so-called anarchists and their fucking theories, because it all boils down to let me do whatever the hell I want. And that's somehow supposed to work for everybody. It's like there's no laws, there's no hierarchies, but there's hierarchies. Okay, all right. And there is laws, there's no police, but there are police. Okay, all right. It's all making a lot of sense. So we do need to do some anarchist focused streams. Anyway, back to this.
And they criminalize offenses that wouldn't be, things that wouldn't be an offense.
You're the
generally,
expert,
like
woke
being in a
patriot.
certain
So
area
sorry.
or having a protest in a certain area. So, and I think the government's very, very scared because people are beginning to feel the impact of the climate emergency. We've got the cost of living crisis, and people will start rising up. People will start taking action over these things. And I think the power that protest has scares the government and it scares corporations, and that's why they're sort of trying to clamp down on it.
We'll do a whole anarchist stream, and I'll have no problem shitting on it when Noam Chomsky, world-renowned Nobel Prize winning or whatever prize winning, did he win? He hasn't won a Nobel, has he? You know what I mean. I'll be happy to shit on a bunch of people who get paid to actually talk about this shit instead of me. Because I keep hearing that from anarchists. That, oh, you don't get it, you don't get it, you don't get it. But then I don't get, I don't get the juice. But you know what? We're gonna have a special stream where I'm gonna look for the juice. I'm gonna look for the truth, because the communists do this too. Oh, you know what? The Communist Manifesto doesn't even reflect what communists truly believe. Okay, all right. Then what is it? Oh, it's a bunch of other shit. It's a bunch of other totally esoteric shit. Okay. The commies do this shit too. What do you guys actually fucking believe in?
Rather than actually addressing the issues that are being raised that urgently need addressing.
Life has gotten harder under successive Conservative governments, and now the legitimate means to criticise the government are being taken.
And you see what I mean, folks, with Woke Patriot there? How convenient, right? No matter who I would bring up, no matter what video of what clip of what expert I would bring up, it would just be my caricature of anarchism, right? Isn't that great? Isn't that great? Anarchists are literally some of the most annoying people in the world, I think. I really do think so. They believe in nothing, but they believe in everything. No hierarchies, but actually hierarchies. No police, but actually maybe some police. Okay, all right. No democracy, but actually, no, we're going to have to do some democracy. Okay. All right. I'll do a whole stream. And I tell you, you know what? The streams I did on communism didn't shut the commies up one bit. So I seriously doubt a stream I do on anarchism is going to shut the fucking anarchists up. Fucking fantasy shit, anarchism.
In a way, it's not illegal to protest. It's not illegal to report on a protest.
Oh, shit.
They just don't want you to.
Well, and here we go, John Axel, with some relevant fucking news here. Look at this. Daily Mail reporting Just Stop Oil masterminds. I guess he's the mastermind that came up with the terrible name Just Stop Oil. Oh my God, can I look at the article or no? I got to look at a hotel room, and this is a rather slick coat. That looks rather nice. Have I seen an ad for Granger Canada in the past 30 days? I don't know, guys. Should I tell them? Oh, wait a minute. Is there news here anymore? Oh, my news has disappeared. I'm now looking at the bottom of the page. Okay, we've gone to the bottom of the page now. All right, going to go back to the top here. Ooh, and we got an ad for webcams. It looks pretty nice. Is this finally the end of the road for Just Stop Oil? Remember, this is the Daily Mail, folks, right? So they're going to be a little bias. Yeah, no, Woke Patriot. No, you make a good point there. I'm sure it'll be objective since I'm planning on shitting on it. I'll comp to that. I have no, I don't think my mind will be changed, but I would like you to give me the benefit of the doubt that just like when I went through communism and I was like, hey, some of these ideas are pretty good. I'll do the same with anarchism. I mean, it's Noam Chomsky's flavor of choice, so there's got to be something redeemable. So come on, man, give me the benefit of the doubt here, Woke. Come on, homie. You're wrong. China, you're wrong. China, you're wrong. Eco Group mastermind Roger Hallam is arrested by cops ahead of planned M25 demo today, as National Highways gets court order barring zealots from disrupting Britain's busiest motorway. Guys, this means it works. Quite frankly, this is basically a big testament that wow, this is working. Make it stop. Wow, this is working. Make this stop. But ultimately I think it works in getting publicity. It's a get publicity quick scheme. But does this create a lasting movement? That's what I'm questioning, and that's probably why I would do a lot of different things in terms of direct political activism if I was running this organization. I think I wouldn't do the highway stuff. I would do something really fucked up. Like I would block the entrance to like the Capitol Hill, you know, like the little down entrance, right? Like just like put like 200 people in like a really small space, you know, the whole day, and you just got to pull them out one by one, you know, and they can't get any trucks through, they can't get anything, they can't get any business done, you know. Give that a shot. But no, this is authoritarian, draconian, fascistic. Welcome to conservative governorship. I mean, you know, people aren't stupid. They're seeing what's happening in the United States. They're seeing what's happening in Canada with the Poilievre, you know, popularity surging, with Justin Trudeau's popularity dipping. You know, Boris Johnson being in charge for 10 years, literally taking a diarrhea dump on everybody and still getting to walk away basically squeaky clean. I mean, he's basically walking away with people begging for him to come back. Right? So Mr. Hallam was not at home when the police raided his property to arrest him, but they later said he had been arrested on suspicion of conspiracy to commit public nuisance. So they did this to Occupy as well. I remember one of the major Occupy protests at 4 o'clock in the morning, the organizers were raided by the police before they could even leave their apartments. They were already arrested by the police. This for a movement, for an activist movement, this should be expected, and the structure should be able to function 100% no problem without their figurehead. Right. So hopefully Just Stop Oil has planned for this, as they should have, because this is, like I said, to be expected. And hopefully they'll still be able to proceed with their protest. If the protests stop immediately because their figurehead was arrested, then I think we might have some problems with this movement. Oh my God. Jesus Christ. Damn. Kim Kardashian's not real, dude. That's not a real person. Come on. She's like CGI or something, man. She's like an AI generated. They do make a good point, though. It is life or death. It is life or death. So this is great. More stuff like this, you know? I mean, Davey, do you have a problem with this? You know, I think they're trying to chain themselves to the gate. Maybe this is like, is this the gate to Parliament? Or so they're trying to block traffic right here, specifically to a building. This is pretty much what we're asking of them right here. You know, making a nuisance of themselves right outside public buildings. Yeah. This is what we want. Yeah. Getting their message out. Just need more of them. Need more of them. A big problem I see with a lot of these movements is, of course, participation, this is like the problem. This is probably the core issue, right? But what do we see here? I mean, we basically see the media outflanking the protesters. It's almost 1-to-1 media versus protesters. It might even be 2-to-1. And, you know, the problem is we see a lot of people who don't really think this is a serious issue, and they don't really think it's an existential issue that's going to affect them. And it's just like, you know, it's just a job. It's just a thing to cover. It's just a thing, you know, and for a lot of people, it's just a thing to glance at for a couple seconds and forget about and be like, oh, well, thank goodness they're not disrupting my day. You know, this is where government regulation comes in, and where you can shape society and, shape society to be more sustainable by passing a regulation on plastic bags and, you know, and the like. And yeah, I know public straws or plastic straws. I know. Oh, I know. Everyone hates the fucking paper straw. Oh no, paper straw so bad. Oh, it's not a big fucking deal. Move on with your life. Okay. Non-violent, but be a peaceful disturbance. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And make sure you get a couple lawyers, you know, that are on your fucking team. You know what I mean?
Please, everyone back, please. Back. Come back, please.
Yeah, so she's doing, you know, a simulation of a dead body.
The UN and ICCP report came out last week, and Rishi Sunak is not even going to go to COP27. This is, we don't have any other option than to act now.
Thank you very much.
Yeah. Yeah. So, you know, so die-in, you literally force them to move your limp corpse. Yeah. I did this. I almost got my wrist broken because of it. One cop tried to break my fucking wrist. Oh my God. Paris. Who's under there? Is there a person underneath all that? All right. Okay, Paris. All right. Yep. No, you still look like you're 25. Yep. Everyone believes it. I like her zeal. I wish I was younger. Hey, Lenny, you know what? You got a solid head on your shoulders, bud. What more can you ask for? You know what I mean? So moving on here, one last UK story, you know, pertaining to the economy. UK inflation hits a 45-year high. Its cost of living soars. And boy, they're really going to be feeling it right now. It's happening right now. The winter's hitting. It's getting colder. Energy needs are increasing. Food is up. Rent is up. Everything is up. Right? And what does the conservative government offer as a solution? Tax cuts for the rich. Trying to tell us, you know, oh, we need to actually lower wages to fix inflation. That's what they talk about, right? And tax raises for the poor. Unbelievable tax increase suggestions. I thought I had the tax increase video queued up. Let me see if I can find that, because I thought I had that queued up, but there's a massive tax increase that's going to be coming to the UK.
As a gas fitter for more than 40 years, installing boilers in and around Manchester. Today, the rising cost of fuel and supermarket shops has led him here to a club that sells discounted surplus food.
Yeah, thank you. I've not been putting my heating on yet. I think I will be by the end of this week, because it's gone a lot colder. But yeah, food, sometimes you'll grab something that you fancy and then you might say, oh, I can't really afford that, and you'll put that back.
It's no surprise that things have been getting more expensive, but we now know inflation is at a 41-year high. It jumped by 2% in October alone. Now, that's the figure the Bank of England tries to keep it below across an entire year.
Oh, this is the video. Okay.
Overall inflation rose to 11.1% in the year to October. But if you look at only the price of food, that went up by 16.4%, the highest it's been since 1977. But not everyone experiences inflation equally. Those on the highest incomes face inflation of 9.6%, while those with the lowest income face a 12.5% inflation rate, because they spend a bigger share of their income on energy bills and food.
So you get 3 bags of food for £7.50, one of fruit and veg, one of chilled goods, one of cupboard goods. And people tell us typically they save between 25 and 35 quid.
Every penny counts and weighs ever lighter for those dropping in. Demand is now so high that for the first time, the food club can't help everyone who asks.
So how many people did you have to turn away then today?
We probably had to turn away 30% of the people that we would like to serve today, just because we're completely oversubscribed.
First world country.
As well as a food club, this is a warm bank offering locals respite from mounting energy bills. The government's energy price guarantee will hold the average family's yearly bills down to £2,500 until April. And all eyes will be on the Chancellor's autumn statement tomorrow.
We welcome that benefits will increase in line with inflation, but genuinely, it's not even going to touch the sides. Much, much more needs to be done. Our members are not just on benefits, they're also the low-paid workers. They're also families on zero-hour contracts or on gig economies. So everything needs to be looked at. And unfortunately, it's a really complex issue because it's not just benefits that need to be addressed. It's salaries and it's combating inflation.
Let me ask you, is the price of an Uber or DoorDash delivery worth it if that DoorDasher has to rely on a food bank to make ends meet? You know? Or does someone need to shell out some more? Either the consumer needs to shell out a little bit more so that the delivery driver can get a livable wage, or of course the employer needs to shave a little bit from its usually massive profits when it comes to a company like that. Sometimes it's not the case, right? But something's got to give. Okay, we can't have the Walmartization of every industry where they externalize all their benefits on a weak and ill-equipped welfare system, right? That is ill-equipped to handle this kind of amount of people that are actually working and are just not making enough money to make ends meet, right? And to get any kind of benefits, they need to go through the state, so they're not even getting, it's the worst. It's the worst of everything, and the only one who makes out like a bandit is the guy at the very top of the Walmart Corporation. Are we really okay with that kind of model being applied in the UK and other places? Doesn't seem like it's very beneficial to a grand majority of people. Just saying. Not even worth it anymore. Freaking McDonald's. Oh, I know. No, it's so true. Yeah, like a simple cheeseburger from Wendy's that costs you $8 over here in Canada. Yeah, I mean, yeah, sure. I don't think it's fair to classify what is and isn't important labor, right? The market has deemed it, a niche to fill. Go home, Whitey. Where's home? Where do I go? Do I go the land of milk and honey? Crack-a-land? Where do I go? Do I go back to Alabama? Where do I go? I got to go back home, guys. Well-to-do town with 9 golf courses. Jesus, 9. We also have a food pantry. Europe. Okay, I'm here. Oh. Okay. I'll give you one more comment before I kick you out, buddy. Make it a good one. Make it a good one. Let's hear it. Where's my drum roll? There you go. White bitch. Oh, that's great. Well, enjoy your ban. Enjoy your ban. Thank you so much for playing. Was waiting for them to call you a colonizer. Yeah. Well, what can I say, man? They asked me specifically when they were doing it, "Are you cool with this?" And I said, "I'm cool with this." What can I say, man? Oh shit. But also have a food pantry that feeds residents that are struggling. Yeah, Lenny, it's a major problem. The rich are perfectly okay. It's someone else's problem. No one needs to pay for it. I don't know. Let the churches figure out. Let the proles figure it out for themselves, right? If we want support systems that can actually help people, we need to build them. And if we want these billion-dollar corporations to foot some of the bill in helping, create a support system that can help everybody have a happy and healthy life throughout, every stage of their life, then we need to demand that from our government, and we do that with political activism. It really is that simple. It sounds glib. It sounds like, oh, it's just this simple. Oh, really? Shut up, white boy. Shut up, white bitch. But it actually is. It actually really is that simple when it comes to creating political change, is that we apply political pressure. If our politicians don't do what we want, we replace them. We vote them out and replace them with politicians that do what we want. And if those people refuse to do what we want, we vote them out and we get people in that do what we want. We hold their feet to the fire. You mean you demand that from the taxpayers? Demand what? What if we tried anarchism? Let's just give it a shot. Because there's no rules, but there are rules. Okay, and there's like 3 million different flavors of anarchism. So which one? Which one? Who gets to pick? I pick pecan. I want cotton candy. I'm that weirdo that eats the cotton candy or bubblegum ice cream. I'm that guy. I'm the one guy eating the bubblegum ice cream, guys.
It's those who can least afford it that inflation's hitting the hardest. Those to whom tomorrow's measures will matter the most.
Thank you, Lenny.
Those holding their breath for the difficult decisions the Chancellor says are on the way.
Yeah. That explains
the Chancellor,
baller
Jeremy
setup
Hunt, blamed high inflation on the war in Ukraine and the aftermath of the pandemic. He said his autumn statement tomorrow would help to drive down inflation.
Thank you, Davey. I feel like I've pissed off some right-winger streamer or something. Did I piss somebody off? Scruffy Cat, you ever been to a place that didn't have any kind of system? You know, any kind of department? In Canada, we have the Ministry of Transportation. That's where we get our driver's licenses and stuff. But you ever been to a place that didn't have any kind of Ministry of Transportation or DMV? Have you ever experienced that? The complete lack of bureaucracy? Like, what do you right-wingers want? You shit on the post office. What, you don't want mail? You know? Oh, I want to replace it. With what? What? Elon Musk got a fucking mail company you want to invest in? I mean, what are you guys even talking about? You know what I mean? You don't even know what you want.
By what he called tough but necessary decisions on tax and spending. Our economics reporter, Neil MacDonald, is with me. So these grim figures on inflation, is this as bad as it gets?
You know, who are you going to blame? You know, how can you blame the left? How are you going to blame the left when the right gets what it wants, and you know, just like with Brexit, right? Because you're going to win in 2024. The Democrats have nobody to put up against the right wing, right? Maybe, I don't know. I guess we'll see. The midterms were kind of wishy-washy, right? Republicans still took the House, but just barely. Ron DeSantis doesn't have a lot of charisma. I don't know, maybe I'll have a hard time, but I'm still pretty confident you're going to win in 2024. But then you're going to take away a bunch of shit. Your life isn't going to get any better. Your life isn't going to get any better. Yeah, sure. Yeah, you won. Great job. Hey, congrats. Wow, fascists win. Congrats. Hey, yeah. Sieg Heil. You're going to get what you want, but who are you going to blame when it doesn't make your life any better? Whose fault is it going to be? Oh, I know, you're just on top of the world, but whose fault is it going to be? Yeah, and Davey, you might be right, but whose fault is it going to be, right-wingers? When your life doesn't get magically better, once the right-wingers get in there and you've triggered all the libs and, you know, you've burnt all the books and you've killed CRT and you've killed woke, you've drowned wokeism. I don't blame others, except what's your opinions on LGBTQ people? What's your opinions on women getting abortions? What do you mean you don't blame others? The entire identity of the Republican Party is identifying things that make them feel uncomfortable and eliminating them. Government should say it like an abortion? Do you think it's a woman's body? It's her choice? Right? What about my right to get vaccinated? Do I have a right to get vaccinated? Do I have a right to get my kids vaccinated? Like an abortion. Uh-huh. Should a woman be allowed to get an abortion? Is that cool? Or should we illegalize that? You should do what you want. So why do you support a party that's diametrically opposed with that philosophy? Why do you support a government that's diametrically opposed to what you're talking about? As long as it doesn't infringe the rights of other people. So no abortion. The government can tell you what to do with a woman's body. I'm for less government, except you vote for people who want to institute massive government programs of control. Yeah, you can do what you want, just not in my community. Okay, what happens when you run the nation? Well, you can do what you want as long as it's not in my country and you need to leave. But I believe in freedom, but you got to go. You need to go, but I believe in freedom. Just don't believe in these things. You're not allowed. Here's a big list of things you're not allowed to believe in now, by the way. But I believe in freedom. Oh, I'm so triggered. I am, I'm legitimately triggered by fascism. You guys are legitimately triggering. You're a bunch of fucking psychopaths. You're going to get exactly what you want. It's not going to make your pathetic lives any better. And then you're going to start lashing out some more. Are you going to do another pretend coup? You know? What, are you going to bring more guns next time? Scruffy Cat, you guys are literally Mitch McConnell and the rest of the Republican Party literally voted on a bill that's against interracial marriage. And Mitch McConnell's married to an Asian woman. Holy shit. It's her body, her choice, unless the government says so.
Well, a lot of economists think
Pro-liberty.
That's right. This is as bad as it gets, and it is just.
Oh, here's a big list of books you're not allowed to read. By the way, once I get in charge, here's a big list of things you're not allowed to see and not allowed to read once I get in charge. But I love freedom. Are you fucking people psychopaths? Are you just completely unaware of it? I want less government, so that's why I'm going to vote for people that are going to, install massive government, authoritarian government apparatuses to check my kids' genitalia as they enter school. Where's the limit? Where's the limit? What does destroying wokeism mean? What does that mean? Hey, CFC worse. Let me focus you here. What is woke? And Scruffy Cat, you go ahead and answer this one too. What is woke? And what does it mean to destroy woke? What does one have to do to destroy wokeism and woke? What does one have to do?
It's worth reminding ourselves just how bad it is. As Amelia was explaining, inflation in October in 1 month was 2%, when the annual rate of inflation target is for 2%.
What is it?
So where do we go from here?
It?
Well, I'll show you the Bank of England's forecast for inflation over the next 3 years. Peaking now, staying around 10% over the winter, but then falling away. And the reason for that fall is partly to do with the fact that, of course, inflation is about the rate of change in prices. So we know that for food and gas and electricity, prices have gone up very sharply. If those prices now stop going up, or even if they just go up but at a slower pace, then that will be enough to bring inflation under control, bring it down. Right. Of course, it will mean households will still be facing historically incredibly high bills.
Yeah, prices will stay high. Now, I mean, when it comes to the autumn statement tomorrow, the pitch has been well and truly rolled. We've been warned and warned that there's this huge black hole in the public finances. I mean, is there? What is it?
Well,
okay. Well, I noticed you didn't answer my question, which is exactly what I was expecting. I noticed that you just kind of vomited out a bunch of bullshit. Could you actually answer my question? It's a two-parter. Hopefully, stay with me if you can, Lunkhead. Part 1, what is woke? What is it? Part 2, how does one get rid of woke? Like a policy, is basically what I'm looking for, like a law you would pass, or like how does one do that legally? Thank you.
The black hole debate is all about the rules that the government chooses to impose on itself about how much it thinks it should be.
And this is actually relevant to the UK as well.
What it is saying at the moment is that it wants all government debts to be falling as a share of our national income. And it was saying that it wanted that to happen in 3 years' time. It's probably likely tomorrow to push that promise out to about 5 years' time. However, a couple of weeks ago, the Institute for Fiscal Studies came up with this forecast. And what that line shows is government debts as a share of our national income going up and up and up for the next 5 years, not falling at all. If that forecast were correct, then the government is going to miss its own rule. And the IFS says if you want that line to be falling in 5 years' time, you need to find £60 billion of savings, whether that's through...
But this is accepting the idea that the only way to fix inflation is with incredible austerity. Okay, now, yeah, okay. So, yeah, blah, 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 life, yep, insults, yep, computer desk, yep, broke no lifer, yep, honey. Honey, I asked you a question. Are you okay? Baby cakes. Part 1, what is woke? Just what the hell is it? And part 2, how would one legislatively get rid of that? The main reason why I'm asking is because Ron DeSantis, he won his re-election. Hey, congrats, Ron. Z Kyle. Congrats, Ron. But he announced in his victory speech that Florida is the place that woke is going to die. And I was just wondering if you could help me understand what that means. What does it mean to kill woke? Just yeah, so that's a lot of words, Scruffy Cat. That's wow. It's it looks like grammatically it's almost correct. You forgot some capitalizations. What can you do? I just noticed that you guys aren't answering the 2 questions. It's a 2-parter, guys. What is woke? How does one get rid of woke? If you could answer that question instead of a bunch of gobbledygook, that'd be really great. Because I'm just going to ignore your bullshit until I get an actual answer from you. You're like, let's gish gallop and gaslight my way through this one. No, can we actually just can we cut through that bullshit and you can actually just admit to what you want to say? Can you tell me what woke is and then how to get rid of it, please?
Tax rises, spending cuts, or both.
So how worried do we need to be about that? I mean, could it change?
Yeah, I mean, the point about this is it's a forecast based on estimates about what's going to happen to economic growth and interest rates and inflation. And of course, they could all change for the better. And if they do, the black hole disappears. It's worth remembering that they have all changed actually for the worse over the last 6 months. So that's possible as well. We could also just scrap the fiscal rule. And so we're not going to try and bring our total borrowing down as a share of national income.
You caught some woke.
However, we are still going to have to borrow a huge amount of money from the financial markets. And I think the question is, if we water down or scrap the fiscal rules, is there a danger that that could trigger both the loss of confidence and the very sharp rise in interest rates, which of course ultimately swept away the Truss government?
Neil MacDonald, thank you. Well, with those tax hikes and spending cuts due to be announced by the Chancellor tomorrow, there are signs of growing unease among some Conservative MPs tonight.
Everyone, please bow your head in sympathy and remorse for Scruffy Cat, whose speech was just silenced. R.I.P. Scruffy Cat. May I see you in 10 minutes, but hopefully not. R.I.P. Goodbye, free speech.
Our policy correspondent, Paul McNamara, joins us from Westminster. Paul, who's worried and how worried?
Davey, you're not supposed to give them their answer, bud. Come on, man. You're not supposed to give them your answer. Come on, man. You're giving it away. You're giving it away, bud. But no, it's pretty fucking accurate. That's basically what it means right there. He would say to eliminate, we need to promote nuclear family and religious values within government. Exactly. Yep. It's basically for 10 minutes. R.I.P. Scruffy for 10 minutes. It's basically the old boomer bullshit wrapped up in a new package. It's just a new way to vilify the same bullshit that they've always wanted to vilify. People with alternative lifestyles and religions that they don't agree with and colors that make them scared, skin colors. You know what I mean? So it's just a new way to fucking contextualize the same tired, racist bullshit.
Very worried, in short. There is a lot of anxiety right now, and by perhaps not tomorrow night, but certainly by Friday and next week, when the numbers have been unpicked, the full fallout of the budget becomes apparent. Conservative MPs are preparing themselves for a very rocky time. Tonight, though, it's not the scale of cuts that they're worried about, it's tax rises. Conservative MPs I've spoken to have been told to prepare themselves for the highest tax burden in 80 to 90 years. And there is real anger about this. One backbencher put it to me, people are going to say to me on the doorstep, what's the difference between you and the Labour Party? And they'll be right, I'm not going to have a leg to stand on. And just to underline that, in the last couple of minutes, this letter has been sent from Jonathan Gullis, a backbench MP, to the Chancellor with a series of demands focusing on either scaling back duty on fuel, or if not, freezing it for the duration of Parliament. He's also demanding a meeting. But look, it's not just a letter from one MP. It's signed by 22 other MPs, which our viewers will be familiar with. Priti Patel, Graham Brady, the chair of the 1922 committee, Brendan Lewis. One name that isn't on this list, though, is Esther McVey. And she stood up in Parliament today and she said, I will not vote for tax rises unless HS2 is scrapped. She's very important because she's seen as influential on the right. Rishi Sunak isn't just going to have a tough time selling this budget.
So isn't this great? They sold Brexit on your taxes going down, your wages going up, your life getting better, no more brown people, no more migrants. And then they're done with Brexit, and now they're talking about raising your motherfucking taxes big time to bail out the, you know, the economic situation that they catalyzed, right? Because some of these factors are not completely within their control, right? Fuck yeah, Extinction Rebellion for the motherfucking win, baby. Love that shit. Yeah, and look, I just gave him the boot out of here because look, guys, here's the thing. I'll entertain a bad actor for a couple minutes. That's fine. But look, if I can't even ask you a simple question, you know, I know it was a two-parter. I know it was a hard one. But if I can't ask you a simple question and you can't look me in the eye, proverbially, and give me a straight answer, and you're just playing games in my chat, you just get the fuck out of here. You get the ban. You get the motherfucking ban. Okay? All right? And that's why people like Davey, who I disagree with on a lot of things, and Woke Patriot, who I disagree on a lot of things, you know, from completely different perspectives in that case. That's why they get to stick around, because they're honest actors. They're good people. They're interested in a real debate, you know. But a lot of these clowns that come in here, they literally pretend to be stand-up comedians, and they completely ignore when they're called out, and they just like fucking make a fool of themselves. You know, look at me, look at me, look at me. It's like no, you get the ban. This isn't your show. This is my show. So if you're wondering why I freely ban people, that's one of the main reasons.
To voters, he's going to have a heck of a time selling it to his own MPs.
Thanks, Paul. So, are austerity and tax rises the only options, or a political choice that could be avoided?
What's Extinction Rebellion, by the way, Looney Flow? Type it into Google. Go ahead and type that into Google. It's a activist movement dedicated to letting people know that we are going to, if we continue with our climate policies, we will likely wipe out the entire human race, or a good portion of it. You might want to look into it. You know, it's about climate change. It's pretty cool. It might be somewhat hyperbolic because, of course, there will be humans left, but there will be catastrophic results of dramatic climate change. Yeah, Davey. Well, it's her body, her choice. Get over it, incel. Boom!
Joining me now, Carl Emerson, who's Deputy Director of the Institute for Fiscal Studies, and with me in the studio, Caris Roberts, Executive Director of the Institute for Public Policy Research, the IPPR. Caris, there's been this sort of consensus, hasn't there, of sort of the grown-ups saying, we've got to get serious, there's a black hole, we've got to fill that hole, and that means tax cuts and spending, tax rises and spending cuts. You have been saying not necessarily. Can you explain why?
Well, actually, I don't think there has been a consensus among economists about the scale of tax cuts or even fiscal changes needed. So as we just heard, the government has been talking about the gap between its current plans and those plans that it would need to have to meet its own fiscal rules. Now, fiscal rules can be changed, and also there's a lot of uncertainty about how you could get there. So there are huge assumptions being made necessarily in any forecast about, for example, the cost of government borrowing, and that could all change.
Why do you think that is, Davey? Are you going to all of a sudden start supporting the fascist right-wingers that are trying to actively destroy democracy? You know, I think you just have too much respect in yourself, and you have enough principles to understand that the right-wing Republican Party of the United States is not interested in you or making your life better. So, yeah, you know, as long as you don't go full fash, you know, we can coexist, okay? But yeah, you start throwing caution to the wind and just start, supporting Ted Cruz and shit. Like some of these, like some people just flip a switch. There's like, oh, I'm fascist now. Oh, I'm voting Trump. I'm voting all the right wingers now. I'm watching nonstop Fox. I don't know, just like a switch flips, and all of a sudden, right? So unless you pull some weird shit like that, man, it's all good. Oh, great. Oh, great. I can't wait. I can't wait. Yeah, because you know, never mind. Can't wait. Can I get an audience? Can I get some money? What the fuck am I doing?
But the other critical point that I would raise is that as well as spending cuts, tax rises are an option. So when we're told that spending cuts are inevitable, that's simply not the case.
So you think we should go ahead with tax rises, but not spending cuts?
I think there is a case for some tax rises, yes. And I do think it's important that the government has a credible plan for its public finances and the economy. And I don't think spending cuts is the way to get there.
Carl Emerson, I mean, the IFS is sort of the oracle at times like this. Can you be clear? Is this choice, this combination, an option or the only choice, the only thing we could do?
I think what's not an option is the Chancellor needs to think really very, very carefully about the trade-off between does he need to do action now in order to demonstrate credibility to the market?
Those fucking Twitch panels are some of the most demeaning, meaningless, pointless conversations I've ever seen in my life. I can't watch it for even more than 5 minutes. Thank you, Davey. Thank you. Thank you for throwing my ass a bone. Thank you for throwing my ass a bone. Dying over here. Yeah, exactly. Check out the Extinction Rebellion. Click that link. Sign up. Look, you don't know which activist movement you should join. This is the activist movement you can join. Okay, they'll get you on your feet. They'll get you off your ass. They'll get you in the street. They'll give you a purpose. Check out the Extinction Rebellion. 100%. You don't have to watch it. Just take part in one. It's fucking demeaning. You put me in a Brady Bunch panel. What am I going to be? One of those fucking squares, Hollywood squares sitting in there? Oh, what do you think, abandoned nihilism? Yeah, I think you're all a bunch of fucking phonies and this is bullshit and we should get in the fucking streets immediately. How the fuck is that going to sell over? Those idiots don't want to fucking talk to me. Not a goddamn one of them participates in fucking activism. Maybe Dylan Burns. I don't know. Fuck, I hate those panels.
Markets. If he doesn't do enough of that, it could be very costly. We saw what happened after the mini budget. But if he does too much, there are clearly risks to the economy over the next few months.
The grift.
Versus the option of saying, well, do I pencil in perhaps tax rises or spending cuts for a few years' time when we're through this winter, when hopefully we're through an energy crisis, and then hope that growth turns out better than we expect, hope that perhaps the gap that may need to be filled turns out to be smaller,
right, though, Looney.
and then some of those tax rises or spending cuts won't be needed. So a more nimble, flexible approach. And that's the really difficult trade-off I think he's got to make. What he definitely has a choice over is if he does want to try and implement measures to reduce borrowing, he has a clear choice between do you want to do that on the tax side or the spending side. So he could go for more taxes or less spending, or he could go for more in terms of spending cuts and less in terms of tax rises. That is definitely a choice.
Right, so you could have a budget tomorrow which didn't have any spending cuts.
You certainly could. The tax burden is already at very high levels by UK standards, though, and you can see why perhaps a Conservative Chancellor doesn't want to push it up further. But it's also worth pointing out in Western Europe and in Scandinavia, there are successful economies that have a bigger tax burden than us. So that's a political choice that can be made.
Right. Karis, I mean, a lot of people were saying, but hang on, when the government went for more borrowing over the summer, the Kwarteng budget, the markets went mad, we're all paying the price for it now, we shouldn't be taking any risks.
They're right that a lot went wrong over the summer and indeed in that mini budget. But we're not in a public finance crisis now, I would argue. I think that was other reasons that made that such a problem. And I think one thing that is missing from this debate sometimes is that it really matters what you're spending the money on. So if you're trying to get debt to fall as a proportion of national income, the national income piece really matters. So we need to be doing the things that are going to support the economy in the long run. Now, my view...
So invest more?
Yes, exactly. In my view, I don't think tax cuts.
No. The solution is to give tax cuts to the rich and starve the industries and means of production. You know, put a vice grip around it, and that will somehow magically fix everything.
For the very richest achieve that, and I don't think markets believe that they would either. But if we had
and that's a great point too, and that's what we saw with the mini budget, was that, hey, you would think the rich would be totally down for the fucking mini budget. Hey, this is great, thanks for the blowjob, Kwasi Kwarteng. But no, they were like, oh, this is actually really terrible for my investments and for the economy as a whole, and this is going to affect my investments. So they're fully aware of how destructive this Reagan style trickle down economics is. They're fully aware of it, the markets.
Well-targeted investment that could grow the economy and ensure that people's incomes don't get ripped out, so that people have cash in their pockets which they can put back into the economy, then that is the basis for a credible growth plan, I would say.
Carl, do you think spending more tomorrow is a credible option?
Well, hoping for more growth is certainly something we should all hope for. The Truss government wasn't wrong to say that growth was a good thing. And there's lots of things we could do if we wanted to try and bring about more growth. But it is certainly easier said than done. And I think it's also important to remember that, yes, when we get those forecasts from the Office for Budget Responsibility tomorrow, it will be the case that those forecasts will end up being wrong.
Yeah.
It could be that they're wrong in the sense.
It's the worst. It's literally the worst. He's got the TV behind him and the guest 180 on the other side of him, on the Kafka table. It's the worst setup. I swear to God. It's the worst setup I've ever seen in news.
Sense that things turn out much better than we expect, but given they're trying to produce a central forecast, it's also possible things unfortunately will turn out worse than we expect.
I mean, the bottom line is that people tomorrow are going to feel terrible when they're hit by more tax rises, and they're going to wonder how they can pay their bills. And what we want to really understand is, was there another way? You know, and Carl, I mean, are you saying, you know, there is, but it's risky?
I'm saying that if we want to get serious about a growth strategy, the government needs to look at a whole range of areas like immigration policy, planning policy, lots of different areas where it's very tricky. And
tax cuts on the rich. Can we redistribute some of the massive wealth that's being hoarded? Can we tax the rich some? Can't do that. Can't do that. They just can't do it. You know, you can't even talk about it. Can we raise some wages? Oh, don't even talk about it. Nope. I've been waiting 25 years for the trickle to start trickling, and it hasn't trickled. I'm just wondering if I could get a little trickle to. No, it's on its way. You just gotta be patient. You gotta let the system work as it is. I'm 87 years old and I'm about to die. I was just wondering if I could benefit from some of the taxes that I've paid my whole life. Yeah, well, you know, you just got to be patient. Just got to wait. Just, you know, sit around and wait a little bit, and it'll trickle right down, right into you. I'm telling you, the system works.
And any growth rewards probably come over the very longer term. Really what's going on at the moment, which households, businesses, public services and the Chancellor is grappling with, is the fact that because Russia's invaded Ukraine, because energy prices are very high, and because the UK imports energy, we're poorer as a country, which means some painful adjustments need to be made.
Thank you. Just in a few seconds, Karen.
To get the economy on track, we need to be fueling the things that will make it run. So that's people's incomes, it's businesses, it's public services, and it's simply not at all solution behind.
Karis Roberts and Carl Anderson, thank you both.
Beauty and brains. How about that? She's something else, folks. Let's see if we can get that chair spin one time. Hold on. I think this is it.
A lot of people were saying, but hang on.
Let's get the chair. I want to get the chair spin. So he's talking to her. Okay, yeah, and then he does the chair spin here.
Pockets which they can put back into the economy, then that is the basis for a credible growth plan, I would say.
Carl, do you think spending more...
It's just the worst. Look at this setup. Look at this embarrassing setup. Anyway, the YouTube, that's the end of my UK section. Long story short, Channel 4 needs to fix its shit immediately. I don't know how much they pay. They probably overpaid for this, and they're like, we got to get our money's worth. It's the goofiest setup in news. It's the goofiest setup in news. You got people walking around. It's like that weird fucking painting of people walking upside down in the glass staircases. It's just the goofiest setup in news. It really is. The table is at different angles, split straight down the middle. Oh, it's just the worst. He's got to rotate 180 degrees to talk to his other guest. Woo, dog. Anyway, so there you go, YouTube. That's my UK coverage. Thank you. Subscribe, like, and subscribe. Go to Abandoned Nihilism on Twitch. I'll probably just ban you immediately because I hate free speech. So thank you so much.